Hey everybody, welcome back to another day of lunch week for OpenSauce. Becca, you want to say hey?
Yeah, hey, welcome to day two of lunch week. I am very hungry for a new round of features. We had a great day yesterday. We dropped our maintainer course, so becoming a maintainer for folks who are interested in becoming maintainers or want to know more about what a maintainer does. We just dropped that link in the chat as well here. And so this week, every day, lunchtime is lunchtime, and today, we are very, very excited to be revealing Workspaces 1.5, which goes right along with our topic for today, which is best practices and tools for open source.
Awesome. Cool. I guess we'll get right in. Oh, I guess I should introduce myself. Uh, my name is Nick Taylor. I'm a senior software engineer over at OpenSauce, working with Becca, and yeah, I'm excited to dig into day two of lunch week, aka launch week for us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been cooking up a lot of stuff over here. Shout out to our whole team for working really hard on all of this stuff. And so today we're talking about collaboration and best practices because I think it makes sense to help our projects to thrive and to grow. And so I think maybe a really good way to get started through a little bit with our new feature because I do think that this is a really great way to understand where your project's at or projects that you're watching. It doesn't have to be your personal project. It can be projects that you're interested in and or you want to know more about. So today I wrote a blog post actually that's called Pour One Out for Create React App. And it looks at everything that's been going on with Create React App over the last year from our PR tables and our issue tables to look at it and say, like, okay, clearly something has been going on here. There's just been, I don't think there's been an official announcement that there's sunsetting or not maintaining, but they
Uh,
definitely recommend other places to start. And I have also
yeah.
included information on that in the blog post as well.
Cool. I don't know. Yeah, like you were saying, I don't know if they've officially said it, but I remember seeing this on Twitter last year sometime, or maybe it was earlier at the start of this year. I can't remember. It was either last fall or the beginning here. I remember. I think it might have started with Theo Brown tweeting something about CRA, and then from there, basically. I think that's kind of there was like a whole issue that got opened in the repo, I think, and then the whole discourse started there, and so yeah. But it's there's definitely alternatives for sure now. I don't know if you have a preferred one, Becca. I know we're gonna look at some of the alternatives a little bit later, but there's definitely options out there for sure.
There are options. Sorry, I was trying to tweet out that we were live and it was requiring too much of my
Okay,
bandwidth there.
that's
So
okay.
yeah, I don't know that I have a favorite, but the one that I want to explore more is Astro. I know Cassidy Williams yesterday, I think, released a template for creating your blog using Astro and Tina CMS, and I
Okay,
checked that out. That was pretty cool. But all of the alternatives that we have that I've listed in the workspace, they're not an exact match for what Create React was or is. But there's enough there that maybe it would give you some inspiration to figure out what to do next, especially, if you're looking for the next way to get yourself started.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think there's definitely some great options. I think the Create Vite app is the first one that came to mind when I thought of this. But there are definitely other options. I don't know if you wanted me to drop that the alternative workspaces right now, or we can do that later. Or, sorry,
Yeah,
alternative
sure, you can go
options.
ahead and drop that. Mhm.
Cool. All right. Awesome. Uh, cool. Okay, yeah, so you can see that in the chat. I'm gonna try and copy. It's the usual. You can't post these things to LinkedIn or Twitter, so I've got to do it manually. So I'll do that as we talk some more here. But
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and open up the Create React app workspace with the PR tables, I can go
Okay.
ahead and talk through some of the things that I was looking at.
Yeah,
And well,
sure.
you kind of are dropping links there.
Cool. Yeah, and if you need me to do anything here, just let me know while I'm dropping those links over.
Yeah, so these are our pull request table. This is our pull request table. It gives you a lot of different information there. One of the things that I felt was interesting as I was going down the rabbit hole of looking at Create React App over the last year was I think in the entirety of a year, and you can actually change the range of pull requests and what we're looking at here. Nick, you don't need to do that. I'm just for anyone's
Okay.
information if you're watching. Um, so you can go all the way back for a year. And when you
Okay.
look through those, what you find is that there have only been 2 merged pull requests in the last year. And it gives you a little bit more information too. So if you're looking through this table and you're wondering, like, okay, well, this is Create React App. What does this matter to me? Well, one of the nice things that you can see here too is the number of changed files and the number of changes. And so I would, my theory is that in a healthy project with a good contributor community, that you'll have a lot of different changed file numbers and changes. So some will vary. You might see a big feature that shipped in that changes a lot of things. I imagine that while we were working on a lot of features for lunch week, that we might see some huge changes because we've been doing a
Hmm.
lot of work on those things. But then that'll be balanced out with some smaller changes or medium changes. But here in this repository, you'll see these top two are kind of anomalies. And it's actually interesting. There was
Yeah.
one PR that was open and it was said, what did it say? It said, there's no Bitcoin in Create React app. I think that was the name of the title. And I was like,
Sounds good.
what does
Sounds
that
good. Whatever.
even mean?
I have no idea.
But
I
you'll
mean,
see that
yeah.
yeah, no, there's definitely some spam. I think that you notice going through these things, but there's a lot of like two line changes or is that what the green is? Is it does it indicate lines or
Yeah, no, so it's the number of it's not the lines. Is it lines? Oh, you're making me wonder here. Let me go
I
to
know,
GitHub real
sorry.
quick cuz I
I
no,
knew
no,
the
no, it's
answer
all
to
good.
this at one point.
It's definitely the changes, but I am very curious. Let me go to I have a PR open right now and I can see. I feel like it's lines changed. Let's see here.
And if someone knows the answer, feel free to drop it in the chat too.
125. Yeah, I think its lines changed from what I'm guesstimating just looking at this PR. So, yeah, no, that's what it is. Its lines changed. Yeah, it would be a little weird, I
So,
guess, if it was characters changed.
yeah, there's also like an indicator on pull request. No, that's gonna get us sidetracked. I'm not gonna take us there. We'll stay focused. But so what we can see from this pull request table is there's a ton of like one to under 10 lines changed. And so most of these, what it tells you is like, okay, there's like minor things wrong. And if you scroll through and you want to know more information about that, it lets you know that people are trying to update broken links or broken things, right? And so
Hmm.
it's saying, hey, we're missing this thing. And when you have a bunch of one line change like that or less than 10 line changes, and that's the majority of your pull requests, uh, I start to think like, okay, something's going on here. Somebody has either done something in a rush or they're not keeping up to date with it. So
Hmm.
maybe that's an opportunity for you to look more closely and say like, okay, where are the trends happening? Why are we getting these very small pull requests? And it's not to say that they're not valuable. I just want to make sure that that's clear. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you are definitely noticing a trend in their pull requests, and you can pretty much see that going all the way back for an entire year.
Yeah, no, totally, totally. And yeah, since we're on the pull requests table, we can also talk about like the information that's surfaced here. Aside from like you mentioned the files change, we can also there'll be some more features coming here, but you can sort by like for example the updated at. So if I just go ahead and sort this, you can see like okay, last month is it looks like yeah that's the oldest one in the past 30 and this is per time range. This is for 30 days. So which is kind of nice because like here, if I filter back on here, we can see that like okay, this one got closed like you said, but you know, there was another PR last week, so you know, there's still some activity going on in there. And yeah, cool, cool, cool. All right, I'm gonna just I was able
Yeah,
to
there's
drop the
definitely
links.
activity in terms of like,
Yeah.
oh, sorry.
No, 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 I was just gonna say I was able to
I was
drop
just
the
gonna
links.
say, in
It's
terms
there's a delay, I think. Go ahead, go ahead.
in terms of being able to collaborate with other people on your team and understand where things are, I think that this does a really good job of giving you an overview of the things to look at. And I know one of the biggest challenges of maintainers is being able to triage what's out there. And so we'll talk a little bit about issues soon. But this gives you a good indication of what's going on, who's contributing in the community, and puts it all in one place. And so this example that we're showing you today, it's for Create React App. There's only one repository in this workspace. But imagine you're on a team and you're working across multiple repositories and maybe even across multiple orgs. It can be really, really hard to keep up with all that information. And like, okay, how many pull requests are open right now? When was this created? Like, oh, this hasn't been merged in. The status is still open. This is something
Yeah,
that we need to definitely look at because this pull request has been open for quite a bit of time. So it can help you with that process of being able to manage pull requests and understand across repositories where everything stands. And I know, even in the handful of repositories I work on, it can be a real challenge to keep up with that,
hmm,
especially with GitHub notifications. I Somebody asked me like, how do I deal with my GitHub notifications? And I'm like, honestly, there are like 4 repositories that I know I need to be in. So I just go to those repositories and go to the open PRs, into the issues every day and just look at them because for
yeah.
whatever reason that makes it much easier for me. But this is an upgrade to that. Like it makes my process of being aware of what's going on so much better than it was before. And I'm not just saying that because it's an open source thing. I really, really like this product.
Yeah, no, it's this is super helpful for me as a maintainer, and there's like it's not in here yet, but there's stuff that because I worked on these two things, the issues and the pull requests, and well, I'll just show a couple other things here. So like right now, like okay, yeah, so this is only one repository, but if you had more, you could filter based on that. And getting back to Becca's point, and we can go to another workspace later when we talk about the Create React alternatives. I don't know if you want to open that up in a bit, but you can actually see per repository like the pull requests, and then you can filter them as mentioned. And there's some other stuff that we'll be doing, like you could see you know, a particular user, what have they worked on in the past like 30 days, or we have different time ranges here, anywhere from 7 days to a year. um, this will be super helpful, or like even like just show me the merged ones. Like these things will be coming. It's just we're not there yet, but these are things in the pipe.
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and we can switch over to the issues table too?
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. Cool, cool. All right, here we go.
So, again, issue table, this is another great way, sorry, to be able to triage things. I'm gonna cough again. So maybe you can talk about the issue table while I get another drink.
Yeah, yeah, no worries, no worries. So similarly to the pull request table, you can sort these by the different time date ranges here. So updated at, created at, closed at. So if I just sort this here, so this should be, is that descending? Let's see here. Okay, last month. Yeah. So you can see here, this, and again, this is for specific time ranges for 30 days. So this was the oldest one from the last 30 days, but we can go back to here. There's the information about it. Again, you can filter on the repos. The repositories. We'll show this when we have the Create React Act alternatives workspace open. Aside from that, there's the general information that is important, like the number for the issue, the title of the issue and what the repo is. And I clicked on that to our repo page, which I don't think we're showing right now. um, and yeah, again, this information is just it's surfacing like issues and pull requests in a I think in a more manageable way because typically like whether I'm a contributor or a maintainer, like my GitHub issues show me, okay, I have, this thing to review, or here's like my latest work, or I can go to like my own issues or my own pull requests. But this is really nice when you want to be able to surface this for like one or more repositories that you have housed in a workspace. And I don't know if Becca is done coughing or not, but I'll see. I'll do a cough check. We good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Cool, cool. Yeah.
We're good.
Uh,
We're good. Thanks. Um, Yeah, and so it's so you can see that is it safe to install create React app? So as I was going through these issues, it was like really interesting to see how people were communicating and all the way back I think up to June of 2023 there were issues that were being open like that. And so
okay.
definitely the if you went back further, my guess would be we would be able to trace the same kind of messaging and the involvement. So you're still seeing issues open up, you're seeing nothing merged, and you're not
Okay.
really seeing anything closed unless the person who opened the issue actually closed that issue.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see, how the contributors are interacting, how they're communicating, and what's going on. And I think there's actually a couple of issues open that are security related issues that have the letters what is it? CVE? Yes, CVE in it, which I learned about is a security risk. So, if this were your project, if you are maintaining across repositories or multiple projects, it could be really useful to be able to quickly identify and see those things, or to have somebody on your team escalate that situation. Like, hey, I noticed in all of the issues that we got last night, this is what came up. And so that can be another useful way to help you triage like what's going on, what needs to be prioritized, and how can we handle this as a team. So I think it's a really great way to like encourage a discussion of what's going on and to be even able to look at it yourself and say like, all right, I looked at all the issues and all the PRs that were open last night. This is what I've learned. You can notice those trends in a way that you just can't anywhere else.
Yeah, no, totally, totally. And again, it's just this information is available on GitHub. I just find that we're able to surface it in a more meaningful way for people. Getting back to what you were saying, and again, we're going to look at a workspace that has multiple repositories, but this is something whether you're like even if you're a small organization, you've got your own projects, or if you're something large like OSPO, an open source program office, there's value in this regardless of the size. And I don't know. I just find it easier to find stuff because I don't know how many times I'm in my GitHub notifications. I'm not gonna cough, but my throat is getting scratchy. We're having voice issues today here. But like you go to your GitHub notifications and it's like I click on something or like I dismiss it by accident sometimes, and then it's like okay, it's gone, it's dead to me. I can obviously go
Yeah.
back to the repo and then I can search and stuff, but I just find obviously I'm biased because I've worked on these things, but I just think it's something I actually need as a maintainer too. It's easier for me to just find these things. Really, that's what it comes down to for me at least as a maintainer.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we talk about a lot is what are the pain points of maintainers and teams? And how do you resolve the pain points? And we
Yeah,
all know that there's not enough time in the day to get done all of the things that we need to do. So the more we can make the process more efficient and easier to navigate, the better it is for everyone. And I think that this is a really great way to again look at these things, have the overview, stay on top of things, and to be able to prioritize what you're working on.
yeah, no, totally, totally.
I do want to
I don't.
say, just pause
Yeah, go
for a
ahead.
second. And say welcome everybody if you're joining us late. This is Open Sauce Lunch Week, where every day at lunchtime it is lunchtime. Today we are talking about collaboration and tooling for teams working together, and we're introducing Workspaces 1.5, which has our issue table and our PR table. But if you have any questions or if there are tools that you like to use, please put those in the chat so we can make sure that we answer your questions and we can give a shout out to all the tools that you find to be useful.
Yeah, totally. I'm just catching up on the chat. For for somebody who live streams a lot, it's always a challenge managing the chat, especially when it's multiple platforms. So I'm just checking the chat over on YouTube right now. Chrissy is asking, did you actually eat lunch yet? I eat? No. Yeah, I had a sandwich, but at 11, so I don't know. Is that considered brunch? I don't know. I feel like I should eat pizza at some point today. I ate it twice this weekend, so I don't know. Got to be on brand.
Yeah, it's
Um,
lunchtime somewhere.
yeah, yeah. Hijabi Coder's saying they just had dinner like an hour ago. Anyways, lots of food talk. Haven't seen any tool things. Our coworker John's in the chat too. Hey John, how you doing? Let me just go check over on Twitter and LinkedIn. Okay, not much chatter on
So,
Twitter.
just while Nick's checking things out, um, we'll be back. We are live streaming every day this week. Most of the time is the same, except actually tomorrow we're going to be streaming an hour later. Our coworker John is going to be doing a workshop that we will, or not a workshop, a webinar that we will all be at talking about timescales. So all of our links are on our latest newsletter, news.opensauce.pizza. So I think actually we have a link that you can drop there, Nick.
Yeah, yep,
Um, and we'll be back at the regular time on actually not Thursday. We have a product
yeah,
hunt launch. So we're
yeah.
very excited for that. If you're
I'll
not signed
drop
up for
that too.
Product Hunt, sign up now so you can support us on Thursday.
No pressure, but it's probably a good idea if you do support us.
So
So,
yeah. Thursday we'll be
okay,
live streaming, I think, from 11 a.m. Eastern, and we'll be
yeah,
going for a couple of hours.
yeah. That's 11 a.m. Eastern. That should be, I think, 3 p.m. UTC. Time zones are hard. Um, it's just having worked with people in all kinds of regions now. I've kind of got UTC down pat, so I always just throw that out and I let people calculate it based from there. But okay, cool. I'm just gonna go ahead and drop the links elsewhere. Um, yeah, yeah. I don't know if you saw if there's anybody talking about tools in the chat there, Becca, but if not, we can talk about some tools that we use as well.
Not
Okay, cool. Right. Let
Yeah,
me just
for
add this to
sure.
the chat. Um, yeah. I think one tool that we use quite a bit for open source is GitHub projects. It's kind of become, I'd say, pretty integral in terms of our workflow. And I mean, like we obviously lean heavily on GitHub because like it's open source, so issues, pull requests, all that. But we do leverage some of the other stuff in the GitHub ecosystem as well.
Yeah, for sure. I love GitHub projects. It helps keep you organized and everything in one place. And it also helps with communication and collaboration. So your team, especially if you're not in the same time zones, you can work asynchronously. You know where you're at, and I would say, along with that, this might not seem like a tool for collaboration, but
Hmm.
our teammate John came up with a launch doc after our last
Oh
product
yeah.
hunt launch. And I found that to be incredibly helpful. So, even, having documentation around all of the things that you're working on and how to implement those things and how to launch a new feature or a product can be incredibly useful for keeping everybody on the same page, keeping communication lines open, and again, providing you the information that you need to be up to date on things.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah, I do like the launch doc. It was super helpful, even for lunch week this week. Um, and I was just gonna say, I know there's people on LinkedIn Live watching. Uh, I I haven't been able to in months to be able to post like in a chat on LinkedIn for some reason. I've talked to their support, I've tried stuff, but the links we've been talking about, I've been dropping in the comments of the actual event. So if you want to check them out over there, just wanted to mention that. Yeah. Let me see here. Chrissy says, if you don't support open source, you don't got the sauce. Yeah, that's true. Sauce is important. It is an integral ingredient. Cool, cool. Um, all right.
It
I don't
is.
know if there's, yeah, yeah. I figured it out. There's like, I think like a 2 second delay with you and me, so I'm pausing extra long whenever I stop speaking.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Sorry about that. So what are some other tools, Nick, that you've found helpful? I know, what are we using today to stream?
Yeah, so for streaming, we're using Restream, so that's restream.io. Um, I basically kind of took because I live stream on my own, and so I use OBS, which is a open source tool, which we should actually have some people on from that project to talk about on a space sometime. Actually, it's like probably the most used software for live streaming, and like companies like Streamlabs use it and like build their products on it. And yeah, so we're using that with Restream, and because I'm streaming out of OBS, I'm using another piece of open source software called Video.Ninja. Um, I actually wrote a blog post about a bunch of the tools I use. I'm not trying to shamelessly plug my blog post, but since you were asking about tools, so let me just load it up because I don't remember the URL at the moment. And I'll just share it in the chat. And again, um, we're talking about the streaming tools. So I'll just drop that in there. But cool. Yeah, there's so many things like I was talking to you before the stream. It's like I don't know about you, but I never really get stressed out about streaming, like live streaming or talking and or like live coding. The things that stress me out are like, is the sound working? Is the video working? And because there's like people that are like obviously very capable with those things. I've got it in a setup where I have it working now, and it's like I've documented it and I just don't touch it. But it's the kind of thing like I remember when I got my new work computer and I set up everything. I didn't have everything installed and I didn't know until I went live my first stream, which wasn't the end of the world. It's just like stuff happens. But anyways, but it's curious that you asked me about that because like I never clued in, but I'm using two very popular open source projects for streaming. So I should probably make a workspace about some of the open source stuff for streaming.
Should probably write a blog post about that, I think.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I should pull out the tools out of that blog post I shared, and then yeah, no, it's a really good idea actually. Cool, cool, cool. I'm just looking in the chat here. Excuse me. Yeah, no, I don't see anybody mentioning other tools they use. But there's definitely all kinds of tools like even like there's database tools that are open source. I mean, Postgres, I mean, most databases I think are open source, a lot of them. Postgres, MySQL, all kinds of stuff for building stuff. That's not necessarily a tool for like managing your open source project, but it is a type of tool. Cool. Let's see here. Okay.
Another tool
Uh,
that we Another tool that we use dub.co or dub.sh.
oh yeah,
And I
that's right.
know that maybe that's not necessarily a traditional way to collaborate with other people, but I find that it's super useful and helpful for being able to share things with other people and also to be able to understand like where the impact is coming from. And so if you're not familiar with Dub, they give you short links and they allow you to create campaigns and get tracking through that. So, like for instance, our the workspace that we're sharing for Create React app. I think I have a short link for that, which is now now I don't see it.
Oh,
Um,
I can pull it up. I already
I think
dropped
it's
it.
oss.fyi/CA.
Yeah, you're talking about the workspace one?
Oh, I have the CRA alt. So,
Okay, yeah, I can drop that in the chat
yes.
again. Cool. Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
so this allows us to be on the same page and to see things. It gives us analytics on things. And again, it helps us to better understand where we're being successful, where things are being shared, and how people are finding out about us. And that can be really important information when you're trying to create awareness because you could have the best project product in the world, but if nobody knows about it, it's not going to matter. So this is a
Yeah,
power up for us and allows us to do way more. And again, not spend extra time on things that, would likely be a lot more.
yeah, no, totally. Um, I've got the workspace up here for the Create React app alternatives. I'm just gonna drop it in the chat for LinkedIn. Alternatives. Cool. And I thought it'd be good to just kind of talk through it because uh we had the workspace before where there was like only one repository, but now we have multiple here. And this isn't
Mhm.
necessarily my like for example my organization with all my projects. This is more like a comparison kind of workspace, I guess, of tools available. But uh the neat thing about this is like you can see like all the pull requests, activity going on, same for issues as well as the engagement. And we have this activity ratio which I'd say it's like because we always we talk about this a lot, but it's really not all about stars. Like stars are traditionally like the metric, I guess, but it's really more of a vanity metric, and a lot of people kind of game the stars I think too well a lot now. So it's like, and it doesn't necessarily mean that is like a healthy repo or there's like a lot of activity going on it. And I don't know if you want to speak to that a bit, Becca, like just how like forks and like other kinds of activity that can kind of explain engagement a little better, since we're kind of talking about workspaces today.
Yeah, for sure. And this is a good example for Create React App because if you look at their total number of stars, I think it's like 102,000. So if you're looking at stars, you're like, wow, that's an amazing project. It's probably really great. And yeah, Create React App was great. But if you look at how things have changed over the last year, then we know that there's something else going on. And so maybe it's a good indicator of how popular it was at one time, but it doesn't
Hmm.
really give you a great snapshot. And even your stars over the last month can
Yeah.
be misleading as well because, for a lot of learners, Create React App was the way to start. And there's still tons of information out there saying that. And
Yeah.
so, if you, it's just an indicator of popularity, not whether it's usable, not whether it's being maintained. And so that's where it gets a little bit problematic. Awareness is high usually if your stars are high, but that
Yeah.
doesn't give you other indicators. So things that you might want to look at is, like are issues being opened, but are they also being closed?
Hmm.
Are pull requests being merged in, for example, like we saw with Create React App, there were two that were merged in the last year.
Yeah.
That's a really good indicator that there's not much happening on that repository there. So I think that we need to have like a more holistic idea of what we could be looking at for a healthier, successful project. And
Hmm.
it's not just going to be stars. It's not just going to be forks. There's a lot of different things that we can look at to tell the story of that project.
Yeah, totally. And we were talking about this before with the activity tab here with issues and pull requests, how you can filter on repositories. Now that we have more than one repository, I can show this also on the main page here for the repository. So like I could just filter on remix, and then all of a sudden all these stats up here, our stats cards up here, these are reflective of just the remix project now. And so you can see like there's still quite a bit of activity. And I'd also say like don't think of like, okay, my project is medium, which means it's not good. It's not that kind of metric. It's really just an indicator to show that, okay, there's been some good activity here. And even low activity doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. It also depends on what the project is, right? Becca, like you were saying, something that might be more in maintenance mode, or like is essentially feature complete but might have bug fixes every now and then, it'll probably have lower activity. But again, you got to look at the data to understand things, I think. So it really depends on the project.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because I was talking to a maintainer, I think last year, and they don't get that much activity on their project. So they just thought nobody was really using it. It was one that they use
Okay.
personally, internally at their company. And then they were at a conference, and a couple of people, I think, mentioned to them, like, oh, hey, I love this open source project. I use it all the time. And they're like, huh, I didn't know anyone used it. And they're like, why don't you ever write an issue or something? And they're like, well, because we don't have any problems and it does what we need it to do. So,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
some
totally.
cases, there's not a clear indicator that people are using and are happy with it. The nice thing that you can do maybe is like send them a little note or discussion to say, I really love what you're doing. Thanks.
Yeah, no, totally. It's like, I don't know. I kind of equate it to like, maybe you don't need to change things if it's working well. Like, do we need another kind of Coca-Cola? I don't know, maybe. But anyways, I don't want to accept I don't want to upset big soda pop industry. But anyways, but I did want to come back to the pull request table, because like I was saying, we can filter on whatever repositories we want. It's not just one, you can pick multiple. But one thing I wanted to mention is how fresh this data is. So, for those who are fans of Astro, you probably know Ben Holmes, who's the whiteboard dev online. He literally has this pull request that got merged an hour ago. So like this data is like very fresh. So like, uh, for example, if I opened up a pull request like right now, probably in about anywhere between 2 to 5 minutes, you're gonna see that pull request show up in this. And I don't know if we have is I can go to the open source one for a sec if you want, Becca. I can kind of show like how recent stuff is, maybe, if that's okay. Cool. I'm saying that, and like, do I have the open source in here? Yes, I do. Okay. Cool. So like if we come to the activities. And then, okay, so here, so my coworker Brandon, our coworker Brandon, not mine. Um, you can see literally 10 minutes ago this got updated. So again, I just want to stress that not only is this information super useful of the way it's presented, but it's like super fresh, like, like fresh bread, fresh kind of, so get it while it's hot. Or I should say pizza dough,
Fresh
pizza
pizza.
crust. I don't know. Yeah, I gotta stay on the, well, there was bread tendencies there, so that kind of ties into pizza, I guess.
You
But this is
can
super
put some
helpful.
sauce on your bread. It's all the same.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so doesn't sound as good though when you say, "Can I have some sauce bread?" I'd definitely go with pizza. But again, this is super helpful because like, this is like really really super fresh. Oh yeah, hey Ayu, and also forgot to say hi to some other folks, Hijabi Coder, and Chrissy's in there too. There's a bunch of people in the chat, so thanks everybody for joining us there. And same thing for the issues. So we can see here. So B Dougie, our fearless leader, uh, this issue got closed. My coworker Brandon just fixed that, so that got merged, and so this got closed 12 minutes ago. So again, just like super fresh information. So, anyways, just kind of wanted to touch on that. Um, I was wondering, yeah, the other thing I was just gonna mention is, so again, there's a few things you can sort on, or not sort, you can filter on. So you can do the day ranges, so anywhere from 7 days to a year. You can filter on all repositories, or you can pick one or more. And you can also, like I said, sort based on the dates. There are some other things coming, like filtering the type of pull request, and also looking for a particular user. Those things will be coming. It's not, I can't say it's officially on the roadmap yet, but I know it's stuff that me as a maintainer I want to get in. So, uh, yeah. Anyways, cool, cool.
Yeah. So I don't know if we have more tools that we want to talk about that we really enjoy using. I know there are some great tools out there for pair programming that folks have used. Do you use anything special, or are you? I actually have never used Slack huddles until this year, and I find them to be
Okay.
incredibly convenient. It makes it so quick.
Yeah, totally. I don't know if Slack Huddle I don't know if there's aspects of Slack that are open source. I'm not positive about that, aside from they use Electron, like VS Code and other things. But the one I tend to go towards is VS Code's live share, so I can it's it's part of VS. It's an extension for VS Code. I'm not sure how much of it is open source or not, but it is free to use within VS Code or like code spaces. And I don't know if it's some. I imagine it'll also work in uh, Copilot workspaces. I got access to that really recently, like yesterday. But I've only taken that for like a brief spin, but I'm not sure if it's available there. I feel like it probably will. Anywhere something VS Code like is available, it should be available. But I'm a big fan of live share. Um, I don't know of other tool. I mean, like you said, you can use the Slack huddles sometimes. Were you talking about open source specific or just tools in general for pairing? Because I can't think of too many that are actually open source for
Tools,
pairing.
just any kind of tools for collaboration, I think are
Okay.
useful.
Yeah. I mean, conceivably, I've never done it, but like the Video Ninja that we're using right now. Hey, how's it going, RoboDom? Thanks for joining us. Um, the Video Ninja, which let me just bring it up because honestly, it's an amazing project. I've been using it since like forever. GitHub. I don't want it to load up my actual screen right now, so I went to go find the repo. So honestly, this I actually started sponsoring this person, Steve Seguin. I can't tell if he's francophone or not, or if it's Seguin. I'm pretty sure it's Seguin. But this is what I use for live streaming all the time, including what we're doing right now. And I'll just drop that in the chat. And I actually started sponsoring him because like I was like, I use this all the time and it's a really great project. And I actually forgot that it was open source. And so like there's like there's like one bug I've noticed in it and I haven't got around to it, but I'm probably gonna create an issue for it. I'm not gonna getting back to like stuff with maintainers to tie in what we were talking about yesterday. You know, you want to follow the kind of the guidelines of the particular project, and typically just putting up a pull request blindly is not the way to do it in most projects. Maybe there are some that accept that, but you know, I'm probably going to open up an issue, and it's a minor issue that I've never seen it myself in the wild, but when people like when guests come on, you can basically pick your camera and your like microphone and stuff. And for some reason, some guests they can't pick the drop down to pick their particular camera. So like a lot of because like some guests I've had on like they stream all the time or they do professional video, so they have like a really good camera. And I figured it out after kind of talking it through with the person to try and open it, and they were able to open it with the keyboard. And it's like the target like you click on for some reason in
Yeah.
certain cases for guests it's super tiny. Anyways, I went really deep there in the weeds there, Becca, sorry about that, but it's
No, I
TLDR,
feel
it's an
that because 'cause I've
amazing
had that
project.
problem when we
uh,
try and set up. I'm like,
okay, so there you go. But honestly, this project's amazing, and I honestly I should we should definitely talk to Steve at some point, see if he'd be up for chatting or but anyways, let me take that off the screen there. But yeah, amazing project. other tools for collaboration. Do you have any other use? I'm trying to think of some others that I might use.
Yeah, IU talked about doing a pair programming session where you can give the other person access to your computer so you both can be coding at the same time. I've used that before, and I find that it can be a really quick way to get unstuck or to do some mob programming or to be able to work on different parts of a project. I did like an hour, maybe it's like a 3-hour hackathon last year. And
Yeah.
that actually was really useful to be able to make quick progress.
Okay. Yeah. No, totally. And there's another tool which not so much for pair programming, but like in terms of the collaborative aspect. I mean, obviously working in open source issues and pull requests are great places to have discussions, but I'm still a big fan of like when we're writing up a document, and collaborating on that. I find Google Docs is amazing for that. Uh, you know, Google isn't paying me to say that. It's just I really enjoy the experience there because you can resolve like the discussion. You can like have multiple people in there. Not that I've ever seen anybody have like 42 people in like one Google Doc or anything, but I find in general it's just really good for it might not be the final form of the document, but like it's a great place to, I find, draft and polish it before you put it on your blog post or wherever this particular document's going to live.
Yeah, for sure. I lean into Google Docs pretty hard. Even when I taught, I'm pretty sure that we did a collaborative session with 23 people in a Google Doc at once. That got
Oh wow.
wild. I don't,
That
don't know that I would recommend that. I'm sure, but this is like 10 years ago, so maybe that experience has improved. But I also don't
yeah.
think that's the primary use case for Google Docs, so it might not have. But yeah, Google Docs is huge also because so many different people use it. So it doesn't really, usually it doesn't matter the experience level of someone or
Yeah.
where you're working. Like we work with different teams at Open Sauce. So if I'm working with somebody from marketing, then it's probably easier just to put everything in a Google Doc and then split it up from there. So everybody knows like this is the source of truth, but we'll be creating issues in GitHub or in ClickUp or whatever and be able to
hmm
get that. Yeah, Robodom, 23 people at once. It
Yeah, yeah.
was I was wild back in my teaching days.
Yeah, exactly. I don't mean to brag, but we used to get pretty crazy in those Google Docs. But yeah, no, totally. Uh, sorry. Just see what else is saying. Yeah, Himisi is saying they're a big fan of live share as well. It's I find live share is pretty neat because there's a lot of stuff that you can do in it. So like say I'm pair programming with you, Becca, and like you share or I share my computer and I'm like, Becca, I need help. You can set it. I think by default it's set up to track wherever I'm going in my file. So like if I open up a file, you're gonna see where I am immediately. But there's other neat things you can do. Like you can actually, like, typically, like for example, we're working on the open source app. I'm gonna start it locally. I'll run npm run dev. It's gonna run on localhost 3000, which typically only I can see. With something like VS Code Live Share, you can actually share your local host across like it's they're not accessing actual local host. Obviously, under the hood it's creating some kind of URL that they can access, but this is like super cool when like whether it's with another engineer or even a designer, you can say like, okay, I made the changes, take a peek. Like you can obviously do this over video, but sometimes like like Zoom or Google Meets or whatever you use for meetings, the the addition of just doing the video isn't necessary in a lot of cases. And I think they still have it, but there's like a voice option in live share as well. So you could actually, it's kind of refreshing to just be
That's
able
cool.
to talk and then like actually share the code and then like also give them access to like, the website that's running on your machine. Lots of cool stuff.
Yeah, and I use this in the chat. I don't use this a lot, but maybe Notion. And I know there are teams that have all of their documentation and communication in Notion, even job descriptions and stuff like that. Um, GitHub projects for sure. I wrote
Yeah.
in February, I did the 29 days of open source alternatives. And
Okay.
I looked at comparison to Notion. So there are some open source ones out there too. I looked at Flowly and messed around with it a little bit, but I'm also not a Notion fan. I just like find it to be super overwhelming. So I didn't stick with it, but it was still
Okay.
interesting and useful to be able to check out different projects out there too.
Yeah, no, totally, totally. I don't know if there was any other links we can drop here. There's also I'll drop it in the chat. I know like a bunch of people that are in chat right now are already in our Discord, but if you aren't in the Discord, I'll just drop the link here and feel free to check that out if you want to. I've even before I started working at Open Sauce last September, I was contributing to the project and I was already in the community, and it's super welcoming, and you know you can ask questions there, and also for people who are looking to looking for like good first issues sometimes, especially if you're starting out, we have a channel where I mean you can follow the repositories as well, but um, it'll just say like when we create a good first issue, it'll pop up. And so like, you know, if you're looking to get your first contribution in any of the open source projects, there's that too. And there's, you know, like fun channels in there too. But trying to think, let's see, what else did I drop that? Yeah, I'll drop the lunch week link again for folks, so that I guess, is that the best place for people to keep track of stuff for the whole week? Because like we're revealing each day there.
Yeah. So not only does that reveal everything that we're doing, but it also provides more resources. So we have links to the blog post, we have links to videos for each of the resources, and a little bit more information. So definitely check that out. We also have the change log. So if you
Oh
haven't
yeah,
checked out our change log, we are trying to make sure that we are providing you with updates of all of the features and the things that we are shipping. So this week we'll have a change log every day. But then going forward, this is a great place if you're like, oh, I wonder what OpenSauce is up to. Check out that change log and it will give you the most up to date information on all of the big things that we are shipping.
yeah. And I just went ahead and shared that on the screen too. I zoomed it in just so folks can see. It's normally not that big, but you can see here we're talking about workspaces today, and you know we can see more here. So yeah, check that out. So those are two great places to follow this week, I think. We got lots more announcements
Mhm.
the rest of the week, all the way through till Friday. Uh, I'm just trying to think if I can literally eat pizza Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I might have to go to the gym a little more if I do that, but it's a lot of cheese as well. But I don't know. We'll see. The things you do for your team, right?
That's right. It's tough. It's tough eating pizza.
Yeah.
All right.
But
Well,
yeah.
thanks everybody for being here with us today. If you have any other tools, if you, I actually Cube Speed. Hello. I don't really. I've not quite understood how to do chat on Twitter yet. It feels like it disappears all of the time. So, um,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
okay to not.
Yeah. I can just I know we're wrapping up
But
here.
most of the resources
Sorry, go ahead, Becca.
Most of the resources are available on our site. You can check out the blog post on opensauce.pizza/blog. Then we have /changelog and /lunchweek. So those are some good places to go to find out more about all of the things that we're talking about. And definitely join the Discord. Nick, do you want to drop the Discord link one more time just to make sure
Yeah.
if Cube Speed is not? Oh, it's Misha.
Oh,
Hey,
hey, yeah,
Misha.
hey, hey.
So if you have
Yeah.
other questions, you can ask us in Discord as well.
Yeah, and I was just gonna mention for Twitter or X, I'll it is like Becca was saying. So like if we just for folks, because like I know that most of you I think are on YouTube and LinkedIn right now, but if you happen to check it on Twitter, or X, it posts a link like this, and then it's the live stream, and then you have the chat here. But it's like it just popped up the chat, but like it's very erratic. I think it's still something kind of new on X, so you know, uh, I think that's also why people typically don't comment
Oh,
on
Gwen's
X.
yeah. Hey,
Okay,
Gwen.
cool. Who's that? Oh, hey,
All
Farah.
right. Well, that's going to be a wrap for us today on day 2 of lunch week. We hope you found it to be incredibly delicious. And we will be back again tomorrow, serving up some new and fresh features. So come back and hang out with us tomorrow. And thanks everyone for being here.
Yeah, take care, and don't forget to stay saucy, friends. Later.